Hello and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. I'm David Boles, and we are live streaming on YouTube and Twitch, not Facebook, as you know, because this delightful music you hear streaming beneath us. We don't have a license right now to use this music on Facebook, but Twitch, we're safe. TikTok, I just discovered today we could live stream there. I don't know if our license is good on TikTok either, but probably not because it's not mentioned. But anyway, it's good to be here. Good to be with you. Yesterday we talked about some skincare, and I just want to show you my soon-to-be scar. Right now it's a bloody, crusty mess. There used to be a little bit of skin cancer that is now healing. This is the first time I shaved with this on my face, and most of my skin cancers have been on my neck, on the side of my face. It hasn't really been an issue for shaving, but it worked. Everything's good so far. So some people ask me, why are you streaming at 9 a.m. New York City time? Music's a little loud. Go to Monster Cat. Turn this down by one notch. Maybe two notches. All right, that's a little bit better. Why are you streaming at 9 o'clock in the morning? People are at work, people are in school, people are still in bed. And it's a good point. 9 to 11. Well, I think, people on the East Coast, they can watch in reruns. People in the Midwest, it's 8 a.m., 8 to 10 a.m. we stream. People on the West Coast, where I have a lot of friends, it's 6 in the morning, and we stream until 8 o'clock. So there's really no good time to stream, because if you stream at night, people are really not always available. And if you stream in the afternoon, people are still working, so it's a very difficult thing. But if you look at this time and date thing, because one thing about streaming live is you're not just streaming to the East Coast, you're streaming across the world. And on bolesblogs.com and Boles Bells. Oh, I didn't show you my new shirt. I showed you this yesterday, but now I'm actually wearing it. This is our merch from bolesbooks.org/merch. It's the Boles Bells long sleeve t-shirt in royal blue. Delightful. And it actually looks better here with these bright lights because you can see the logo a little bit better. And the sparkles are actually little flecks of white, but they do kind of glitter and look like sparkles. When the light hits it, yeah, not bad. But in real life, away from the lights out there, a little bit darker, but still a nice effect. So they say, why are you streaming at 9 o'clock in the morning? Well, if we look at the world time, and bolesblogs.com, humanmeme.com, the podcast, we have international people who talk to us at all times of the day on Twitter and on social media and on our website properties. So in New York, it's 9:05 a.m. In London, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. In Tokyo, it's 10 p.m. In India, Kolkata, 6:35 p.m., which doesn't sound right. Let me refresh this. In Beijing, 9:06 p.m. Moscow, 4 p.m. Australia, 6 p.m. Edinburgh, 2 p.m. Johannesburg, South Africa, 3 p.m. So in those countries, in those parts of the world, it's at night, in the morning. So the point I'm trying to make is there's really no great time to stream. People are either with you or they're not with you, and you do your very best that you can. So if we have to stream a little bit later, a little bit earlier, if it's more convenient, you can let us know in chat. You can find me on Twitter, @DavidBoles. Send me a DM, send me a public message with your thoughts and comments, and I will work it out and find an answer. So this is our 5th straight day of streaming. Monday was our first live stream, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and now Friday. Now last Friday I don't think really counts because it was our technical debut. We were just on here making things move, testing to see if we could go remote to Janna Marie. It all worked out great. It was about an hour. And so far this week, we've averaged each stream to be about 2 hours, which is pretty good. They say you should stream a minimum of 2 hours, preferably 4 hours, which I don't know how people do that if they're not, playing a game or playing people in chess all day. It would be a difficult thing to talk for 4 hours and be interesting. You could sit here and just kind of mull over your life for 4 hours, I suppose. Some other people say the sweet spot is 3 hours of streaming. So for now, we're going for 2 hours. See how that works out. Maybe it'll be less, maybe it'll be a little bit more. Depends on the chat, depends on the interaction. We're very new. We're looking for followers. Following is free. You can't even subscribe to this channel because we are not there yet, technically. But 6 months, a year, 2 years, maybe we'll become a Twitch affiliate and see what happens. So now we're going to talk very briefly about something else that happened to me yesterday that almost caused another scar. Not on my face, but on my arm. Let me set up the story for you. So we currently live in Jersey City in a brand new high-rise building called Journal Squared. Okay? And this is not a secret. If you go to Google and do a search on David Boles' books, writing and publishing, you can see right where we are on the map. Because where we live is where we work, and where we work is where we live, and people come to us, we have meetings in the building, and so it's not a secret. We are not worried about being doxxed. We are not worried about having our identity stolen, because we have been doxxed. And we did have our identity stolen. Both of us, beautiful Janna Marie and me, about 5 years ago. And they got into our financial records and our business accounts. And I don't know how, I don't know why they did it, but it's a horrifying experience. So that led us to lock everything down. So all of our credit is frozen, our banks are double, triple sealed. Doesn't mean people can't try to get in. Doesn't mean people are not going to try to steal your identity again. But if they do, they do. And if they don't, we hope not. So we don't really have a fear of, you knowing where we live or what we do, because that's our business. So we live in a development in Journal Squared called Journal Squared. And there are currently 2 buildings in this project, and it's right next to the PATH station, which is really terrific because you walk about 10 feet and you're in the train. 11 minutes, you're under a tunnel, and you're in Manhattan. You're closer to New York City and Jersey City than you are if you lived in Brooklyn. And it costs exactly 50% of everything cheaper 11 minutes away in Jersey City than it does living in Manhattan. I'm talking about rents, I'm talking about food, I'm talking about transportation. Everything, generally speaking, half as much as Manhattan. Different state, different city, different philosophy of living, I suppose. So Journal Squared is this big development by KRE, the Kushners. Yes. That family, the Kushners. And this smaller building that you see is the very first building that was built about 4 years ago. And we were one of the very first pioneers to move into that building. And the taller building just opened this summer, and it filled in a record time. I think they went to 95% capacity within like a month or something like that. So they're not waiting 2 years to build Building 3. They are starting right now on building Building 3 in this 3-building complex known as Journal Squared. The area is called Journal Square, just like Times Square was named after the New York Times. Journal Square was named after the Jersey Journal. It was published in Journal Square. It's no longer published in Journal Square, but the building remains, the signage remains. We are Journal Squared. And our neighborhood, where we live, is called Hilltop. And we live at the top of a hill. And everything else all around us is downhill. So that's good for when it rains, when it floods, everything kind of flows away from us and goes into the other parts of the city. And that's one of the advantages, I guess, of living on the hilltop. One disadvantage of building these big buildings in Jersey City, but it's also an advantage, and there are about 4 high-rises going around within a block of us, I would say. So this luxury housing, as some people call it, is going to expand even more. Maybe prices will go down as people start to discover the benefits of living in Jersey City. But Jersey City is built on bedrock. I mean, great, big, hard layers, boulders in the ground. So to build these high buildings, you have to blow things up, TNT, to get rid of the bedrock and build on it, which means the buildings are very safe and they don't move, unlike other places in California where San Francisco was kind of built on a trash heap after the fire. Parts of San Francisco. But one problem with having a city built on bedrock is you can't bury things in the ground like you do in other places. So we have a lot of telephone poles, we have utility wires, we have cabling on these giant poles all throughout the city. Talk about being wireless. Not in Jersey City, there are a lot of wires because they can't go underground and bury the lines underground. So it makes for a very hectic kind of scenescape when you go out for a walk and you see all these utility companies stringing these thick black cables across and wrapping around other black cables from one telephone pole to the other telephone pole to give service to all these new buildings going up in the area. So it's very ugly, but I don't think there's a practical way that is affordable that doesn't include having to hide the wires. There's no place to hide the wires right now in Jersey City. We are built on bedrock. So we've been living here in Journal Squared for about 4 years. And I'm going to show you the 2 videos I took when we were apartment hunting. And I had to do it myself because Janna was very busy, so I came over here before our small building was open. Our small building is 56 floors. The big building is 70-something, and the third building is in the middle, 60-something, I believe. And I thought, well, I guess I'll take pictures of the apartment to show Janna. And the fellow was the leasing agent who was showing us the apartment said, well, why don't you just take video? And I thought, video? Why would I take video? Oh, video. So Janna Marie can be with me in the apartments. So I took videos of 2 apartments. One we did not go for, and the second one we did go for. So I'm going to show you what a smaller apartment looks like in Journal Squared, and then I'll show you a bigger apartment and why we chose that apartment over the smaller apartment. So this is a video that I took 4 years ago. And I'll do a little commentary. This is looking out the window, giant windows, beautiful, heavy, beautiful giant windows. And I don't know if there's any sound because I don't remember. So we'll find out together, and we'll see if this plays. So this is an apartment. We do have a little bit of sound. That's a closet. That's another closet. The bathroom. I believe this is a 1-bedroom. Turn on the light. Oh, there I am. That slatted door is where the washer dryer is. Kitchen. Big place to cook your meals. Nice counter. Nice island. There's the view out the window. We're on the good side of the building, the quiet side of the building. That is the path station right there below us, which means nothing can be built there to block our view, because it's all railroads. I believe this is we're now in the living room area. There's another closet. That's where the guy said that maybe I would do my work, my office, but it wasn't really a room. It's like part of the dining room. And this is the bedroom. And I like the double windows, actually. There's the path station, looking south, looking east, out the other window. I love that we don't have double windows in our current bedroom, which you're going to see in a moment. And there's the closet. So all in all, quite a lovely apartment. It was quite a bit cheaper than the one we actually went for, but I'll show you why we picked the apartment we picked. This is our official apartment. That is empty, but quite glorious. Here we go. That's the leasing agent. Walking into our apartment, you walk right there on the left, closet. Right there is the bathroom. And you know my blood pressure issue. So when I come home and I have to go to the bathroom, I unlock the door and run straight ahead and go to the bathroom. Now we're in the living room, which is actually quite a bit larger than it appears on this video. And here's our kitchen, which is kind of split, which I sort of really liked. We don't have a big island, but we have two distinct places where you can prepare and store stuff. Refrigerator. This is the secret. This is called a 1+ bedroom. So this is not considered a bedroom. This is the plus room. It has a closet. It's very quiet. It's next to the elevators, which gives us a little whoosh sometimes, but it's perfect as a working office. The only reason it's not a bedroom is because it doesn't have a door. This is our living room. We're higher up, about, 6 floors higher than the other apartment you just saw. This is our living room. It's actually quite huge. I have a whole kettlebell collection in there. And this is our bedroom, which is actually very large. I don't know why it looks so tiny on this video. There's our closet. Looking out our bedroom window at the path. Quite lovely. Can always see the weather. So beautiful. And there you go. So that was a lovely tour of 2 apartments in the complex known as Journal Squared. And what's really lovely is now that we have 2 buildings, they have joined them outside on the 8th floor. So we have a swimming pool in our building, and now that we have the second building built, it's been joined on the 8th floor. So they have a swimming pool too that's an Olympic-sized swimming pool, so you can do laps. So you can swim in our nice pool, or you can go 10 feet and swim in the other building's pool. And because the 2 buildings are tied together, there's really no way to block people from going in from one building to the other building, so they said, well, why block anybody? If you live in building 1 or building 2, you can just go back and forth symbiosis between the 2 buildings. And that means you can go in there and use the equipment, sit around, lounge, eat, play, drink in their building, and they can come over here and do the same thing to our building. So it's a wonderful shared thing. Now, Building 3, as I understood the original plans, Building 3 was a silo. Building 3 is an island unto itself. It's not going to share the 8th floor, and people who live in Building 3 stay in Building 3. You don't interact with Building 1 or Building 2. Now, my feeling about that is it doesn't make sense to put Building 3 into a silo. You want to have symbiosis between all 3 buildings. Let Building 3 come and swim in our pool. We'll go to Building 3, swim in their pool. They come to our building, Building 1, swim in our pool, and everybody swims together. Eats together, plays together. It's a 3 giant building complex that when it's all done is probably going to have 3,000 people living there at a time. And 3,000 people means there are a lot of dogs. It also means you're going to smell a lot of marijuana. I'm being honest about that. It's now legal to have marijuana in New York and New Jersey, and people are not being shy about it. Now, it is illegal to smoke in these buildings. This is a smoke-free complex. And you can be terminated and your lease terminated, and they do terminate you. However, marijuana can also be used medically. So people try to get a medical excuse, a medical exemption. We've had a pandemic for a year and a half. The courts have been closed. People can't be thrown out of their apartments for breaking their lease, the terms of their lease. So sometimes you wake up, or you're getting ready for a live stream, and you smell a lot of smoke from other apartments that you shouldn't have to smell. It's a little gross. But would you prefer to smell cigarettes, which are completely banned, which you never really ever smell, or would you prefer to smell pot? Well, my philosophy has always been, if people are going to do something, I would prefer that they smoke pot because it mellows them out and makes them nice. Heroin and cocaine kind of do the opposite thing. Make them crazy. Meth, people go nuts. So if you have to pick one, pick pot. Have a happier and a quieter life. So here's my story about injury and scarring. And nothing's ever happened from my part on what I'm about to tell you, but I'm going to tell you because it makes an interesting story. So when Building 1 was when Building 2 was being constructed, I go for my daily walks, my workouts, and they were building the building, and it's scaffolding up, and something from above, I think maybe they were on floor 3 at the time of pouring the wet cement, the foundation, and going upward, I was hit on the top of my head. Boing. And I was right outside Dunkin' Donuts, and I thought, I wonder if somebody threw something at me at Dunkin' Donuts. It hurt! And then I heard a ting, 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 ting. I thought, I think what hit me is rolling on the ground. And so I looked around, and I found what hit me. And I'm going to show it to you now. This is it. This is what injured me. And people who know about construction, because I did ask people about this, and official people in the building who work here did try to take this from me. And I said, don't worry, I'm not going to sue anybody, I'm not going to say anything. I just want to know what it is. And I have been told that it is a nail used for concrete nail. And this part gets shot, I don't know if you're going through steel, but into the concrete through an explosion. You know, there's some kind of thing, some kind of, I guess, nail gun they use that puts it in there. And the heat and this ribbing, I don't know if you can see the ribbing, makes it stick into the concrete. So this thing hit me, and I showed some people who work here, and one friend of mine who works here said, you know what you should do? You should take this sharp end, right? And if it was me, I would have taken this and I would have gone right on your forehead, just so you have a little bit of blood. And I would run and go tell, hey, this thing fell, hit me on the head, made me bleed, and collect a little bit of insurance money. Now, I understand people like to do things like that and get ahead. It's not my style. So I said, I'm not going to do that. But I am going to keep this as a souvenir. Imagine if this fell on me from the 56th floor. And I did not report this officially to anybody, but maybe they knew about it. Because about 2 or 3 weeks later, the city of Jersey City went to Building 2 and said, you have to build barriers on each side of the road and cover it because we don't want things falling on people. Which was a very smart thing, because the higher you go, the more dangerous it gets. And for about 1.5 years, the 8th floor, where we love to go outside and hang out in the wind and the rain and swim, closed. We got some money back on the amenities fee, but I understand why they had to close the pool, because right next to you, 20 feet away, is a construction site. Very dangerous. So Building 2 is finished, complete. Tremendous success. Everyone's very happy. And now they're beginning to work on the third and final building in this 3-building series. And they have a little park that they created that is where Building 3 is going to go. So it's been a park for maybe a month, and now they're tearing out the park. They're ripping up the bricks. They're getting rid of the trees. And these are beautiful old trees that they brought in. So I hope they're taking them somewhere for 2 years while the third building is being built. And preserve them and bring them back, because they're very lovely. It's a wonderful outdoor space that's now going to be gone. And they're moving very quickly to get this third building built, because people want to live here. Because you do not have to have a car in Jersey City. You can walk everywhere in this hilltop area. You have grocery stores, pharmacies, and the path is right there. You don't even have to cross the street to go into the path train. So again, I was on a fateful walk yesterday, coming back, and something flew over the fence from Building 3, Journal Square 3, JSQ 3, and hit me on the arm. I don't know if this is my luck or if this is my style, but it's becoming annoying. But I'm glad there are no more buildings that are coming up. So this is what flew over the fence and hit my arm yesterday in Journal Square. Okay, this is about 4 times as heavy as that concrete nail. This end is just a screw, but it's also very sharp. And I don't know what this is because I haven't told anybody about this yet. So I don't know if they were ripping out a tree or ripping out railings or something, and it flipped over the fence, but it landed on my arm, and I saved it. So I now have 2 tokens from living here in Journal Square. Whatever this is, a screw thing. It looks like something for fencing. And this, a concrete nail. And I've learned that they actually go together, even though they don't go together. If you put one inside the other, you have a little toy, and it rattles. Or I could get creative, make earrings. Delightful. And maybe I don't even need fasteners. I just put them right through the lobes. Wear them that way. Or have a little necklace. Right? Take these, sell them in the bolesbooks.org merch store. I survived Journal Square, Building 2 and Building 3. Now, as I said, Building 3 is just in the tree ripping out stage. So when they start going up, I better be careful on my walks because I don't want to be hit by anything else. So that's my story, that's my day from yesterday and today. Scarring, pain, injury, recovery, everything's fine. I'm not saying anything about this. I'm not suing anybody. Don't want to get any money. I don't want any points off my rent. You know, there are residents who just, any little thing, they go to the management office and says, well, I was inconvenienced. I want $100 off my rent. I don't understand people like that. Your rent is your rent. You pay your rent. Okay? And you know what time it is? It's time to take a break to use the restroom. It's our high blood pressure pee break. And it's happening right now. And then I'll come back and I'll tell you more about my granola review, which I hope you'll enjoy. Back in a moment. All right, we're back from break. I thank you for joining us live. A lot of fun things to do today. So right now, I'm going to give you my brief granola review. And we're centering it on Trader Joe. Now, it's always hard to find something that is a good snack, healthy for you, and not going to kill you, but is still a little fun taste treat. And granola is one of the wonderful things. So there are 5 kinds of granola that I love from Trader Joe's. One of them I don't have because they're out of stock. It's my favorite granola of all time. We're going to start with the Trader Joe Almond Butter Granola. Now, I think this is delicious, and the best kind of granola is granola that comes out to you in chunks. This granola has crunchy clusters of rolled oats, whole almonds, and almond butter, and it's all absolutely true. It's very crunchy. It has a really nice nutty taste. It fills you up. Calories a little high at, 280 a serving. But when you're hungry and desperate, you can't go bad. Can't go wrong with that kind of granola. Next, Trader Joe's Pecan Praline granola in the shiny bag. This one is whole grain oats, pecans, sweetened with maple syrup. Now this is my least favorite Trader Joe granola, although Janna loves this very much. I find it slightly too sweet, and there are not enough chunks. Not that I want to blow chunks, but I will eat chunks when it comes to granola. This is also 280 calories. Not bad. I'd eat it if I had to, but if I have a choice, I'll skip that. Now I'll tell you about my favorite kind of granola, and I don't have anything to show because I've only had it twice, and I can't find it again. It is called grainless granola, Trader Joe. Does not have oats. It's basically nuts clumped together, calling it granola, but then adding the grainless to it, so it's not really granola as we know it, but grainless granola. I wish I still had a bag where I'd show you. I wonder if we could be inventive and find it online. Now I'm interested. Trader Joe grainless granola. Just so you can see the package. It's very delightful. It's delightfully, oh, there it is. It's delightfully designed and really, really, really delicious and really, really, really hard to find. Sweet and salty clusters made with almonds, coconut, sunflower seeds, and pumpkin seeds. Oh, I'm getting hungry for it right now. And as you can see, there are a lot of photographs because people take pictures of and share what they love. And I love grainless granola from Trader Joe. Oh, now look at that. Grainless granola. That looks like an old version. I like the new packaging better. Who doesn't love purple and green? Hard to find. Next is a new favorite of mine, Trader Joe's organic toasted coconut granola. Now, a lot of people don't really like coconut. I love coconut. It has a lot of potassium. So if you have heart issues, it's really good for your heart. A crisp and crunchy combination of rolled oats, corn flakes, sprouted quinoa, almonds, and toasted coconut chips. Gluten-free. 270 calories. Now, this is very delicious tasting, but it does not come in chunks. It's not clumpy at all. So it makes it a little hard to eat. So I actually use a spoon. I could add milk to it, make it like a cereal, but I just use a spoon and eat it dry. It's okay. I love the taste, but I wish it were clumpier. And now, our next second best contender for Trader Joe's granola with grain. Trader Joe's peanut butter protein granola. Crunchy, see, right there, crunchy. Rolled oats clusters with peanut butter, pea protein, and peanuts. You get 11 grams of protein per serving. Each serving is 260 calories. Now this is big chunks of granola. And it's crunchy, but not a crunch that hurts your teeth if you're getting older and you don't want to go to the dentist too often. Really delicious. This one is like the grainless granola. If I start eating it, I have a hard time stopping eating it. So that's why I have to partition. Portion control, as Janna Marie likes to say. And it comes in a big bag. The grainless granola you see on screen actually comes in a very narrow bag. And you can see how it's designed. It's designed like this. It goes like this. It's not a bag. It's a funnel. An inverted funnel. Making you think you're getting more than you're really getting. But you know what? It's worth it because it's really good. All right, so we have Janna Marie coming up in a little bit as she's going to give us a good time with some Halloween signs. And now we're going to finish what we started on Monday. And that is, we're going to finish writing this week's Human Meme podcast. We started it together. We did a very rough version. And now, as William Clefcorn told me, who used to be the poet laureate of the state of Nebraska, had several classes with him, a good family friend. Bill Clefcorn says writing is rewriting and revising. And what he would do for us as students is he would write a poem, mark it up with a red marker, red pen, and bring those markups to class and show us that this genius poet laureate of Nebraska also doesn't write things perfectly the first time. And ever since that time, I have used that method to help other authors and other writers learn that there's a process to writing, and that the most important thing is to have written, and the next best thing is to have written well and revised extensively. So let's take a look at this. Revision doesn't take long. This introduction is already kind of, we already know we wrote it. Some of it's a quote that we didn't write, so we can't edit that. The introduction is good. There's a quote, Korean actor, Squid Game. Okay. And remember, our 3 forward slashes are take a break, slow down, Big Dave, take a breath, we're doing something else. So that's what those lines mean in this script. So we begin with the question, how does a modern life compare to that of which Oh Young-soo speaks? He is the actor, the older actor in Squid Game. And then we discuss, recently on Train in Pennsylvania, a woman was raped and assaulted and was not helped by others riding the train with her. Why was that terrible act not then acted upon in a serious way? Okay, I think that's fair. These are the questions that adhere to us, finish the sentence, as sentient, human beings. These matters of the living stick to our soul. These human remains, pause, remain delicate as still water within us. Pause. Like tar on a rice paper shack. And, make it personal, my human being friend, it is our moral duty, not our forever moral decay, to try to figure out what went wrong and why it went so wrong. So, what is an important word I need to stress, and why? Remember, this is not a blog article, this is a script. We speak differently. We have ums and ahs and ohs and transitions like ah and so and ah and ooh and no and but that I use here in a script that's performed that I would never use in a bolesblogs.com proper article. So, 3 lines again means pause. We're having a change of time and tune. We have devalued the extent of the human condition by becoming numb to what we do not recognize and what we do not care to acknowledge. Okay, that's fair. We become numb to violence and insolence. I like those because those are... I'm going to stumble over them at 4:30 in the morning when I record this. And uncaring by our exposure to negative cultural elements. Yes. We are talking we're talking about memes. Memes. How we communicate knowledge and other ideas to other people. In our national culture and in our world society, bad behavior is not only tolerated and celebrated. Okay, that's all right. Next, we're here. We watch the world burn on TV from the safety of our homes, and we wonder from afar, how would we react if we were there on the ground? And then we forget about that moral dilemma because the events before our open eye never immediately impact the status of our bodies. Okay, that's all right. Next, 3 slashes, pause. New thought. Reality television blurs the line between good people and awful instinct. The scripted series tend to bend us toward immorality, emphasis, and uncaring, emphasis, for the love of others. Instead of enjoying those terrible shows that demonstrate bad behavior, we should instead be protesting against them. But we do not. We prefer the irrelevance of our lives pitted against the exciting, exciting, thank you Google Docs, but inhuman spectacle that has become our entertainment. M dash, so I know to pause. Blood, killing, yelling, running from the law. They have all been promoted and primed to become the default behavior on television and in our entertainment vehicles like the movies and politics and the street corner performer. And we are all worse off for that sort of unbending, brutal, but brittle, unending bloodletting. And sometimes I separate things like this just so I know that I have a big mouthful coming up. Okay. Pause, pause, pause. And we ask a question. Questions are good, but if you ask a question, you have to answer the question, especially in a podcast. Because you don't have a chat, you can't go back and forth talking to people because there's no conversation. It's one-sided, unlike a live stream. Is it too late to save us from our own immoral delusions? Have we crept too far over the edge to find our way morally home again? Pause, pause, pause. If we begin to question what we see and to act upon the bad decisions of others, I believe, and that's okay because I'm speaking to you on a podcast, I believe we can rise to the moment and find a good way to set right the basic human instinct to do the right thing in every circumstance. Okay. I agree with that. The task before us, whoops, ooh, wah. The task before us will not be easy because there is money in the bad. We know that to be true, right? There is victory in the lie. And there is resurrection in the cunning events against living in harmony together as a people. Okay, I'm highlighting words that I need to slow down and hit because sometimes they get a little too quickly spoken when I start getting excited. Here we go. Okay, so now so we've been talking about resurrection, cunning, and bad, and now we're going in a whole different direction. We're bringing up Aristotle. So Aristotle gets two of these. Pause, 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 pause. So I know that I really got to slow down. We're going in a different direction. That's a clue, to the podcast listener, that we're going in a different direction. And so my tone has to be a little bit different. Aristotle taught us we learn by imitation. That includes learning bad behavior and being cruel and insulting to others. That only demeans them, but beckons us to a lower calling. Pause, pause, pause. Aristotle also suggested a release of tension, a reconciliation. Highlight that because that's a long word. Reconciliation. 5 syllables. Reconciliation of reality against harm. Also suggested a release of tension, a reconciliation of reality against harm. There we go. So it's two things. So it's plural, not singular. We're not only wrong, but unreasonable as an act of dramatic telling. Now, I should put pause, pause, pause here because I'm quoting Aristotle, and now I'm talking about myself. But I'll remember because I see I. So I say, sure, that may have been true. That may have been true in Aristotle's time. But today, there is no resolution. There is no release. There is no avenue for ongoing catharsis. No, there is only ongoing hatred and yelling and screaming. In what now hallmarks merits of a human modern life. Okay, and every once in a while I say, how much more do we have to go? Okay, we're not bad. We're almost home. Because sometimes you repeat yourself, sometimes you go too long on one thought and you start getting circular. And I admit that happens. Okay, so yes, conflict is what keeps the drama alive. But conflict does not always have to be negative. Right. Good point. Thank you very much. You've paid attention to Mr. Aristotle. He was my original teacher. It's not bolding, I don't know why. Conflict can be a way to bring about positive, good change that resonates in a humming world. A world that hums against the good tune and reverberates with the cruel. I like melody better than tune. Too informal. There we go. Okay, make that into a paragraph because it's a better thought by itself. All right, now we're here. Pause, pause, pause. If we watch the bad behavior and allow it to adhere to us, it is only to assuage our fears and confirm that we, the unspoken and the ultimately unwashed, are more virtuous and delightful than the people we actively choose to watch on television. If we stop watching, if we stop engaging in and encouraging, the cruelty will stop happening because it will no longer be profitable to broadcast. There is no morality in money, but money always seeks morality. Okay, now, we're starting to wrap it up. So, we need to make good behavior a reward. Okay. We need to seek... A little longer pause between this. It's a new thought. We need to see righteousness and positive change around us in order to include it within us. Getting fancy. If I go too fast, I have to slow down. There we go. Okay, yes. The power of change is ours. We do not have to choose to be obnoxious or mean or disingenuous. We can simply decide to mirror and imitate the joy we want to become and the happiness we want to spread. Okay. I'm with that. Again, going into a new thought. So yes, my human being friend, this is what we call a turnaround, where we're going one direction and I flip it around, talking about another direction. So yes, my human being friend, our modern lives are quite the opposite of what Oh Young-soo proclaims. And even Squid Games argues that the opposite of what the great Korean actor... Okay, this is a little confused. So yes, my human friend, our modern lives are quite the opposite of what Oh Young-soo proclaims in his quotes about life. Some may even argue that Squid Game, I always say games, but it's better to have it singular and not plural. Some may even argue that Squid Game argues the opposite of what that great Korean actor, Sung-yu, believes. Okay, that makes more sense. Let's close our thoughts today with a final quote from Oh Young-soo, the old man in Squid Games, about the real meaning of winning at life and beyond. And this we don't edit because it's a quote. Thank you for listening. Be a human being. Oh, look what we have here. Remember this? Aristotle's Poetics, Squid Game edition. Oh, we talked about that earlier this week. All right. So there we go. So we're done revising this. We always let Google Docs check our document to see what's right. And we often ignore. Okay, we're not going to change the quote. Not gonna do that either. It doesn't like my commas, but I leave the commas because the commas for me mean take a breath. So it might not be perfectly grammatical, but it's a good map for me to know what I want to say. Download to the desktop the PDF, which becomes our script, which we will read, record, perform, live for you. Well, not live. Live for myself, Sunday, and then in a few weeks, it will appear live as part of our Human Meme podcast. Oh, it already exists. Do I want to overwrite it? Yes, I do. I usually delete that. Okay, looks like it's there. Checking. Looks good. Well, there we go. We wrote our Human Meme podcast together, and we revised it. And now we're going to record it. Well, it's that time again. I'm going to get ready for January, take a very brief break, be right back, and we'll have some more fun together. Back in just a moment.
Say it's so
We are back. Thank you so much for joining us on the live stream. David Boles live with Janna Marie. She's coming up. She's getting set up. So before we begin our Halloween fun, and she's going to describe our Halloween tree. Remember that scary tree that I showed you on Monday? She's going to use that as part of her ASL lesson today. So it's going to be a delightful time. We're just waiting for everything to fall into place. And speaking of falling into place, let's fall off a cliff together and do a little bit of really bad chess. Yes, it's really bad chess with David Boles, live and in person. Not from the Omaha Civic Auditorium, because it's been torn down and replaced by the Quest Center. At least that's what it used to be called. So I'm doing these chess pieces with you because I have to get better, and I feel your good energy. And this is the chess puzzle of the day, here to torment me once again. Now, this is the puzzle. We are playing black. Boiling point. Now, this confuses me because I don't know what boiling point has to do with chess, so it's a little too smart for me, which I do find chess.com tries to be a little bit too tricky with these hints. Boiling point means to me that there are going to be a lot of pieces exchanged in order to get this puzzle right. And if you look in the center with the knight and the black queen, the black bishop, and I am black to move, and the white queen up here, two rooks. Do you see how all this is lined up? All on the D file. It looks like it's going to be a bloody mess. The question is, how do you get there? And as you know, and as I know, I don't really know how to get there. So I try to figure this out. Now, the first thing you do is figure out what's not going to move. Okay, the pawns in this is not going to move. What I've highlighted, these are the important pieces of it. And I have to attack. And chess.com puzzles really like it. Active, moving. It doesn't like to set something up to move later. They want you to move right now, which usually means sacking a fun, important piece that you don't want to sack. So this knight protects this bishop. I would like to take that bishop with this bishop, but then this would take that, and this would go here, that would go here, this would go here, that would go there. So if I went here, that rook would take that rook. That rook would take that rook. This rook would take this rook. And it would be very messy. So take, 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 take. And then the queen gets involved. And the queen takes everything that I have. So that would put me down several rooks. So I wonder if there's some kind of pin somewhere that needs to be pinned, but I don't know exactly how to do it. Now you could, and I'm not going to, take this bishop and move that here and then hit the queen. Pow! Threaten the queen. But see, the problem is the queen would come right back and take it, and there's nothing here protecting your bishop. So that can't be the it. But you always like to look for advantages, because I can't find a way to put the king in check right now with the current setup. Which means there are going to be several moves. So I'm going to try this. Oh, that was the right move. All right. Okay. So the puzzle liked that I was going after the rook. Now, that knight moving there, excuse me, puts his bishop in trouble. But it gives me access to this. Then we have this exchange. It goes back and forth, back and forth. So I take that rook takes my rook, this rook takes that rook, and this queen takes my rook. And all the rooks are off the board, which does seem to be a little bit boiling. But it doesn't really put me ahead. Because my queen is in bed. My queen here is in a bad position. Well, if this knight takes my bishop, I could take with my queen. Then this queen would take me. It's not good either. So, I'm going to say my only play is this. Oh, not the right one. Hint. So this danger is something that I need to be aware of. And the queen's going to take it. But where can I move it? Yeah. And I can move it here. Go after the queen, as we discussed. But the queen won't stay there. The queen will come right back and take it. That's not good. Not good. Could go there. Try to get the queen, but then this pawn would just move on. It doesn't really make sense. Won't go back. There's nothing going on here. It wants a boiling point. So if I want to boil, I could go here. But that doesn't get me anything. I could go here. That doesn't get me anything because the queen will take. I could go here. Doesn't get me anything because pawn will take. So, if I have to move my bishop, I need to take something, which tells me I need to go here and at least get a pawn off the board. Not the right move. Here. No. Here. No. Okay, this is where you get desperate, Chester. Oh my gosh. I don't even know why I go there. So I go there to move the queen, I guess. Because we know the queen is coming after us. So now maybe it's safe. Since the queen moved off of here, maybe not protecting. Now the queen is not protecting this rook. So now I can go this way and this way. Hiya! Okay, now I get the game. Hiya! Aha. Okay, so the reason that worked is because the queen was protecting the rook, so I sacrificed my bishop so the queen can take my bishop. Oh my gosh. It's exhausting. Well, Janna Marie is still getting set up, so we're going to try yesterday's puzzle. Running Down a Dream. That was a Tom Petty song, wasn't it? Very negative. But running down a dream means to me, as a puzzle master, that something's going to be moving a lot. And usually that means you're king, but I don't think that's what that means here because this is a puzzle. Puzzles like simple endings. And I'm white now. Okay, so I'm white, so I'm going to have to play. Well, I'm trying to just figure out what's going on here. So I have this rook. That rook goes here. Puts the king in check. But not meaningful. The king just moves. And the rook will take. The king won't move, the rook will take. Okay. So that doesn't really help me. Oh, it looks like Janna Marie is ready. So, we will put this on hold. We'll let Janna Marie into the Zoom meeting. Oh, she's sideways. Let's bring her up on this live screen. Waka, 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 waka. Oh, there she is. Janna Marie. There she is. Perfect. And we have to turn down our music. One moment. One moment. Music down. Okay, music is off. Hello, baby. Oh, she's working. Hello. Oh, she can't see me. I don't have my video on. Oops. Video. Not turned on. Dumb. Where are you, Janna Marie? Where are you? I'm in our apartment hallway outside the door. 2212, right there on the side of the door. Apartment number on the front of the door. Okay, are you ready to begin our fun? Lessons beginning. Janna takes over. Thank you so much. Beautiful lesson. A lesson from the hallway of our building here at JSQ. Thank you, Marie. We'll see you in 1 second when you come out of the hallway and come back into our apartment. Okay, bye. Thank you. And because I forgot to start this session with Lunchtime ASL with Janna Marie Sweeney, I'm going to use it as our outro. This has been ASL Halloween Signs with Janna Marie Sweeney, live from the hallway with our Halloween tree. We thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a brief break. We're coming right back. We have a lot more to talk about. But right now, I have to go help Janna Marie come back from the hallway. Back in a flash. And we are back from break. Janna Marie is now safe, back into the loving arms of the apartment from the hallway. And we're still very scared. It is Halloween, but we're all going to make it just fine. Now, because we are INTJ, a little bit of obsessive compulsive, we're going to finish this puzzle before we move on to the next thing. Now I've completely forgotten what we had figured out. So I'm going to have to refigure. Okay, so that takes that, and then what? It doesn't really get us anything. It's just an exchange of pieces. If we go with the queen, not that. If the queen takes this way, it puts the king in check. Puzzles like that. And then it'd be a queen sack. And then what? Then I lose my queen for nothing. So it's not that. Now it could be a knight move, but here puts the king in check. Takes or takes. Here doesn't get us anything. Doesn't get us. This doesn't get us anything. This doesn't get us anything. This doesn't get us anything. I think it's a knight move. It wasn't a knight move. Is it a rook move? No. Is it a queen sack? No. Well, this is getting ridiculous. Hint, it is a knight move. But it wasn't this way to put the king in check. It just doesn't make sense if I go here. It doesn't make any sense to me. If I go here, the queen just takes. If I go here, doesn't make any difference. If I go here, the queen just takes. I tried going here. It said no. But obviously there's something going on where I need to move this knight to somehow expose this queen. Yeah. Well, let's just move this here. Oh, that's not it. All right, now we're just being desperate. Doesn't make any sense to me. Well, what else is left? I moved it there, so that's not here. Oh, I don't understand that at all. Why wouldn't the queen just take? Why move the pawn? I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. Because now, why wouldn't I just take this bishop and put it here, put it in check, and it's protected by the knight? That doesn't make any sense. I don't like the puzzle. The puzzle doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Now if I go here, and with the rook on there, puts the king in check. But then the rook would just take. But I think that's probably what it is, so I'm going to try it. We've already made a mistake once. No. Oh! move the knight there. Then it puts the king in check. Who can take? Nobody can take. Okay, that's probably what it is. I'll move the knight. Okay, that was it. Oy. Okay, now the knight is not in jeopardy. The rook protects the knight. So this has got to be a queen move. So if I move my queen here, puts the king in check there. But then the king can just move there. It doesn't make any sense. But what makes sense about this puzzle? Nothing. Nope, that wasn't it. Okay. 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 So we're chasing down a dream. So I bet that means the knight has to move again. Oh, so dumb. The knight takes the queen. It was a fork, and I didn't even see it. Oh! Well, that was just painful. So there are a couple of things I want to talk to you about that has to do with writing. Now I need to find a proper screen. What can we use? Promise kept. So we'll leave this on bolesblogs.com. What the hell happened in Nebraska? It's a strange state. It always has been football-centered. The politics have always been deep red. And frankly, a little disappointing many times. But now it's just really off the rails. But there are a couple of things that I want to talk to you about when it comes to writing. And one of them is logic in writing. And a lot of people don't think, oh, well, you can argue anything you want to when you're writing something creative. And that's absolutely true. You can argue, you can say whatever you want to do. That doesn't mean it's right, but you can argue it. But there has to be a logic in your writing that makes emotional sense to the reader. Now, some people will say, oh, no. When you write, a writer writes for themselves. A writer is inventing things. Yes, I wrote it. I invented characters, but they don't speak for me. They don't speak through me. I only speak for myself. My characters have lives of their own. You can't hold me responsible for anything that is said in a play that I wrote because it's not really me speaking. Now, I understand the intellectual gymnastics it takes to make that argument. But in reality, if you write something, it really is coming from you. And you may be writing disgusting characters who say awful things. But you can't deny that, well, you didn't say it, because in a way you did say it because it was said through you. And you're not a compass, as an author, where you're just blowing with the wind and talking in directions. You have a greater responsibility to yourself and to others, and that is to be clear about the emotional direction you want to take your readers. And writing is not always intellectual. That's the story I'm going to share with you. If I can find how to search on my own site. Well, these are really interesting articles, but I just can't find the one that I want to... here it is, finally. Passionate mind, intellectual heart. This is what we're basically talking about when it comes to writing. And there has to be an emotional truth to what you're saying when you're writing to somebody. If it's a play, if it's a book, if it's a blog article, if it's a human meme podcast, there has to be something that makes sense to the reader on an emotional level. Because it's that very emotion that carries you over from page to page and scene to scene. And if you're only making an intellectual argument that is scholarly and scholastic and pedantic, that's an effective form of writing. And you find a lot of that in law writing and legal briefs. But if you want to move somebody, you need to find a way to do that emotionally. And some people say logic, intellect is an emotion. It can lead to an emotion, but I don't think it's an emotion in itself. So the honesty in the logic of the emotion has to spring from what we call the universal rhythms of storytelling. People expect something to happen next. And you can surprise them, and you can take them in a different way as an author. But if they don't believe what you're telling them, if they're unable to follow you in your emotional journey that you're laying out, then you will not be successful in your storytelling. Because there needs to be a truth in the telling. And yes, some characters lie and some characters deceive, but the overall intention of the emotion needs to be predictable and verifiable, even if it's a negative emotion. And there are a lot of plays and books and articles that are filled with negative emotion. So some people think of the writer as solitary, off in a room, alone, disconnected from the world. But the greatest writers we have are very passionate, very organized, very specific and assassin-like in their use of emotion to tell the story. And emotion doesn't have to be about outraging people or about love, but it has to feel genuine. It has to feel authentic. And that comes from experience, and that also comes from direct interaction between characters and between the greater story arc of what you're trying to tell. And that takes me to my next step in this progression. We wrote our Human Meme podcast together, talking about violence, talking about satiety in the life. And we've talked about logic and writing and emotional honesty, passionate mind, intellectual heart. And we talked about law writing and how it's not necessarily emotional, but it is logical. And my note on that is this: the purpose of the law, and we're in the middle of it now with the Biden presidency, the Trump presidency, what's going on in Brazil. The whole world is on fire politically. We're making a lot of changes as citizens of the world, and how we choose to get along with each other or not get along with each other. But the one thing that binds everybody is this idea of an enforceable morality. Now, there are attorneys and lawyers and law schools who will say there is no room for emotion or morality in the law. The law is a set of ideas presented by people and put into place. And that's absolutely true, but we have to take it to the next step, and this has to do with writing. That the purpose of the law is to enforce morality. And how can that be? Well, we shall not kill each other. We will not allow people to hit each other. We will not allow children to starve. We will not allow people to be harmed on our streets. We will not allow the police to beat up other police officers or citizens. We will not allow citizens to go the other way and beat up the police. And these are all behaviors, moral behaviors, that are set and cemented in the law. So if you're on a jury, or if you're in a trial, or if you are accused, You have to realize that the law is there not just to protect you or to protect the innocent or to punish the guilty. The law is there to enforce morality. You fasten your seatbelt by law, or you get a ticket, you get a fine because of your bad behavior. Now here's the problem, especially in a democracy. When authoritarianism rises and the horizon looks dimmer and straighter and not quite as wonderful bending towards a moral truth. What do we do when the law itself becomes immoral? What do we do when people get together and they decide to punish a certain group of people, a minority of people? What do we do when they decide to punish previous events that were lawful, like, say, voting? And now they no longer allow you to vote in that way. Well, when the law itself becomes enforced, but unenforceable, because the law is unjust and wrong, then we have a problem. And that is where anarchy takes hold and protests begin to grow. There was a time in America where slavery was legal. It was the law of the land. If you were a slave owner, you were enforcing your morality by following and respecting the law. And then some people stood up and raised their hands and bled a little and said, you know, this slavery thing isn't quite right. I know it's against the law to try to say this or to try to change things or to go to war to protect the rights of citizens who have been enslaved. And that has been the challenge, especially in America, but in any free nation, is in the moderation and the modification of the laws of people. People vote to have legislatures and people representing them to present their values and their morality and to then write according laws that fit that morality, that frame of context. But if there is a disingenuousness in that creation of the law that goes against the spirit of people, and you instinctually and emotionally, as we discussed in writing logic, emotionally, you sense there's something wrong here. This is not right. That is where protest begins against the establishment and against the enforcement of the law. And change, good or bad change, begins to happen. And this is how a society changes from one ideal to another ideal. There was a time when the wealthy ruled everything and the people had nothing. And then there was some equity and some enforceability and the laws changed and taxes changed, behaviors changed. And in the ancient antiquity, people were killed and murdered to get rid of the bad people and to try to bring in better people. And as we try to live a human life in a changing world where morality isn't always changing, but the laws that enforce that morality are changing right before our eyes, we often don't realize what's happening until it's too late. The logic takes over the emotion. We think, well, it can't possibly be a new law that would prohibit this, because we've always had that thing. Or we've at least had that thing for 20 years, 30 years, or something. It can't happen. And then the emotion takes over. Because the emotion is what's real, and the emotion is tied to the enforcement of the morality of the law. And before you know it, life as you loved it and life as you knew it has changed. And the reality that you knew and that you loved and that spoke to you is now illegal. Now you have to go somewhere else another country, another state, another city, another town, to escape the immorality of the enforcement of what some believe is a moral law. And how do you stand up against that? You were warned this was happening. You saw it coming. You saw it coming. This is happening. And yet, when the time came, there were protests. There was standing in the streets. There were marches on Washington. And for what? The minority, especially in America, is not based on race. It's not based on color. It's not based on culture. It's not based on region, religion, geography. The minority in America that are protected in the Constitution are the rich and the wealthy. Those who have money set the laws and, by default, set the morality of an entire country. And if you look at the laws, the tax laws, the morality laws, the voting laws, they're all there, if you look beneath the surface, to protect those who are currently in power and who have very powerful, wealthy friends. And that's the way it has always been in America. We're not socialists, we're capitalists. We trickle down our wealth to people below. And one thing that the pandemic has shown us and everyone is that sometimes people get fed up with immorality in laws that don't make sense to them emotionally. And they say, I don't need this $10 an hour job. I would rather work somewhere else and get paid maybe a little less, maybe a little more, to do something that is authentic to me, that feeds my emotion, that makes sense to me logically, and that I find to be a moral purpose for myself. Because my life belongs in my own hands and not in the hands of others. And the one way we change the law in America and the rest of the world is by protesting. Doesn't always work. And by the proper election of people who represent you, who share your values and your morality. Now that sounds great in theory, right? But what happens if you happen to be a person who is immoral? You like authoritarianism? You like killing? You don't mind shooting people? Well, that person running for office is the same as me. They don't want democracy, they want power shifted and put in the hands of a few people. It's a very effective way of knowing who you are and what you want. And when there are enough people on that side who believe as you believe, that's how a new power structure begins. That's how a new immorality is cemented and put into law. So I would hope that we can all together be careful of what we wish for and be wary of what becomes us. Because we're moving into dangerous times together, where the world is changing and some of us don't realize how seriously it's changing. And the next question is, what are we going to do about it? Do we march? Do we fight back? Do we wait and see? Do we take the next step and run for office? Or we can set the law and make the agenda? These are the questions that you have to answer. And maybe one day we'll have a very nice chat here about it. I would love that. Questions and answers, always open. You can find me all the time on Twitter, at David Boles. Send me a DM, find me. This is our 5th day of streaming on Twitch and YouTube. And it has been a wonderful experience, and we're going to keep this up for as long as we can and as long as we are able. And if you're not following us on Twitch, please do, because it makes a difference to Twitch. how many people are following and engaging with you and in chat. And we're new. We're not known for streaming. We're known for writing. We're known for our podcasts. We are not known for live streaming. But now with your help, we're going to get there. And I thank you so much for your caring attention. If you have any questions or comments, find me. If you'd like to make a donation, go to bolesbooks.org to help keep us live and streaming. If you like my shirt, bolesbells.com, you can get your own. Just by going to bolesbells.org/merch, M-E-R-C-H. Merchandise, a lot of fun things, more fun things coming, and we'll share those with you as well. So today we talked about scarring, we talked about shaving, we talked about things falling on us from above as unrequited gifts in need of parting and sharing. We talked about granola from Trader Joe's. We talked about writing. We finished our Human Being podcast together. We played a little really bad chess. And maybe you didn't believe me all week when I told you I'm really bad at chess, and I study every day. But I have now proven to you that I really have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm not giving up. I will keep trying. And we had Halloween fun with Janna Marie Sweeney. She showed you our scary tree, showed you some wonderful signs to make your Halloween events really delicious and spookily fun. So we will see you again next week, probably on Monday. I'm tempted to try a live stream this weekend, but I don't know if that's a good idea or not, because I want to make sure that every live stream we're active, we're doing something with you and for you to make it worth your time, and you don't feel that we're wasting any effort in getting this live stream to you. So if I don't see you for a little while, be in touch, find me, know your emotional reality, follow your logic, and remember, morality is enforced. And which morality you want to be enforced is your choice and your decision. I will see you again soon, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.